Vitamin D might be the single most important nutrient in your body, and almost everyone taking it gets it wrong. Here's something that'll stop you cold. About 1 in 6 of every protein your body builds, including the collagen that holds your skin, your joints, and your blood vessels together, needs this one vitamin to get made properly. Run low and your body starts building itself out of cheap materials. And here's the part that surprises people most. If you burn easily in the sun, that isn't only fair skin. It can be a sign your vitamin D is low. They won't bring this up at your next appointment. The system makes money when you stay sick, not when you get well. I'm Sam Waterling, and I've spent 15 years watching this play out in real patients. Subscribe and hit like if you want the straight version. Help Dr. Waterling get to 300,000 subscribers. Let's start with where you actually get vitamin D, because this is where the first big mistake happens. You have two sources. The first is sunlight. And here's the trap. People think it's summer, the sun is everywhere, I'll stop taking my vitamin D until fall. That's a serious error. Think about your actual day. You wake up inside, the curtains are drawn, you're covered in clothing. You step outside, still dressed. Maybe sunglasses, maybe a hat, maybe straight into the car. That summer sun you're counting on to fix everything is barely touching your skin. And if you live anywhere in the north, the sky is clouded over half the summer anyway, and the warm season is short. So the first mistake is stopping vitamin D in the summer. You keep taking it. When I travel somewhere hot and sunny, where I'm actually out under strong sun and at real risk of burning, I take vitamin D at the same dose as in winter, sometimes a little more. Why? Because low vitamin D makes you prone to sunburn. Years ago, before I understood any of this, I burned constantly. My skin just couldn't take the sun. Once I started keeping my vitamin D up, that changed. The tan finally started to hold instead of the burn. From sunlight hitting your skin, you get roughly 95% of your vitamin D. Only about 5% comes from food. Which foods? Mostly fatty ones. Fish oil, fatty fish, butter, egg yolk. And here's a detail most people miss. The yolk should be soft, not hard-boiled. A soft-boiled egg is better for you than one cooked hard, because the heat damages the nutrients in the yolk. If you tried to cover your vitamin D needs through food alone, you'd have to eat an enormous amount of fatty fish and these rich foods every single day. That's not a smart way to do it, though I do think you should work these foods into your diet regularly. And here's where the wisdom of your body shows up. When you're short on something, you feel a pull toward a certain food, even when you can't say why you want it. It's like a sick animal that wanders off and starts chewing one specific kind of grass. Something inside knows. And the moment you close that gap, the craving disappears. When you crave sunflower seeds, you might be low on selenium, a mineral your body needs in tiny amounts. When you crave buckwheat, it may be zinc, and so on. So the second mistake is believing you get enough vitamin D from food. Say you eat salmon regularly, or cod liver, and you figure you're covered. You're not. That's 5% of what you actually need. Right now, before we go deeper, tell me in the comments, are you taking vitamin D or not? Now, where does vitamin D act in your body? Almost everywhere. The only exceptions are your red blood cells, the smooth muscle of the uterus, and certain brain cells. Every other organ and tissue has a receptor for vitamin D, a little docking site that lets the vitamin do its work there. It's needed everywhere. Here's why that matters so much. How your body is built and how it runs is written in your genes. You have around 30,000 of them. Each gene codes for a specific protein. And out of those 30,000 genes, roughly 1/6, about 5,000 genes, do their job through vitamin D. So if vitamin D is low, about 1 in 6 of all the proteins in your body, collagen included, get built poorly or don't get built at all. That leads to a long list of problems. Most people connect vitamin D to one thing only: bones. You've probably heard that low vitamin D causes rickets. What is rickets? It's weak, soft bone tissue in children. And here's how we even found this vitamin. A long time ago in London, children had rickets, and doctors were desperate to help them. They tried all kinds of substances, and it turned out fish oil worked best. They noticed that children with rickets started feeling better after taking fish oil. Later, over time, they isolated the actual substance from that fish oil: vitamin D. So we split the effects of vitamin D into two big groups: the bone effects, which everyone knows about, and the effects beyond bone, which is newer knowledge. Start with bone. Vitamin D strengthens bone tissue. Low vitamin D and the bone gets more brittle. That's part of why older people break bones so easily. It's called senile osteoporosis, bones that thin and weaken with age. An older person can fall on flat ground and snap a bone. There's nothing good about that. So this is important. For prevention, especially in older adults, take vitamin D at a solid dose. It matters even more with age because your body's own production of vitamin D drops as you get older. You could honestly call vitamin D the vitamin of youth. It's what lets you keep a good appearance and good posture for far longer. When vitamin D is low, bones soften, including the vertebrae in your spine. You know the saying that people shrink with age? It's real. People get shorter as they get older, and part of that is the soft bodies of the vertebrae slowly settling and compressing. So if you don't want to turn into a shrunken, hunched version of yourself, take vitamin D early so your bones stay strong and hold your height. Now here's something you can see with your own eyes, no x-ray, no lab test, signs of a vitamin D deficiency written into the bones. Any of you can spot these. First, prominent frontal bumps. You know that forehead that bulges out sharply? Here's the mechanism. Extra fluid gets held in the body, the pressure inside the skull rises slightly, and the head essentially swells a little from within. The spots over the frontal bumps give way most easily, so they push outward under that pressure. You can see this in a child, and you can see the same feature still there in the grown adult. Look lower and you'll find what's called a rib flare. It stays into adulthood too. The lower edge of the ribs, usually on the left side, sticks out and curls outward. That happens because the ribs themselves are softened and drift into that deformation. It's usually stronger on one side, and there's a reason it's the left. Up at the neck level, a nerve that controls the tone of the diaphragm, your main breathing muscle, gets slightly pinched. The diaphragm goes soft and slack. It doesn't hold the ribs in from the inside, so they drift outward and you get that rib flare. When I see this in an adult, I understand right away how that person developed in the womb, what happened during their birth, and that from earliest childhood they lack the nutrients for normal development. What else points to a childhood vitamin D deficiency? Watch the legs. Bowed legs, cavalry legs, or knock knees, the X-shaped legs. That deformity always tells us the same thing. Low vitamin D, weakened bone, weakened ligaments. Feet that roll inward, a valgus deformity, are another 100% sign of weak connective tissue and low vitamin D. And when you look at the whole person and see obvious tilts, one shoulder higher than the other, usually the left, the head held to one side, the whole body standing crooked, those tell you the same story. Low vitamin D and weakened connective tissue. Slouching too, when a person can't sit up straight, when the shoulders roll forward and they can't straighten out. And here's a mistake people make. Trying to fix these tilts with exercises alone without considering the state of the tissue itself. You have to account for what your frame is made of. Vitamin D is the single most important factor for the strength of that frame, so it keeps its shape for years. Another mistake is taking vitamin D in a form that doesn't absorb. There are two parts to this. First, if you have trouble with your gallbladder, you'll struggle to absorb fat-soluble vitamin D. It seems logical to just switch to a water-soluble form, but that's the wrong move. You need to fix the bile flow instead. Here's why it matters. If bile isn't reaching your intestine in the right amount, it can't break down the fat that vitamin D rides in with. So the vitamin doesn't absorb properly. Rather than giving your body a crutch and switching forms, get the bile flowing, because bile isn't only for absorbing vitamin D, it's for properly absorbing all your food. The best approach here is bitters. My favorite is a thick extract of aspen bark, but it can also be immortelle, calamus, wormwood, and many other bitters. Taken about 10 to 15 minutes before eating. These do more than boost bile flow. They're also anti-parasitic, they stimulate secretion, and they improve digestion overall. Do that and you'll absorb any oil-based form of vitamin D beautifully. I also think taking vitamin D as a tablet is a mistake. To hold a tablet in solid form, manufacturers pack in a lot of extra fillers that do nothing good for you and aren't medicine. The best form of vitamin D, in my view, is an oil base plus the active substance itself, cholecalciferol, which is the real usable form of the vitamin. An oil like MCT carries it in and helps it absorb. Keep it simple. Oil and the active ingredient, nothing else. Now another mistake, taking vitamin D at too low a dose. If you knew how many times I've asked a patient whether they take vitamin D, told them they need it, seen the obvious signs of deficiency right in front of me, and they say, oh, I already take it. At what dose? And it turns out they're taking 2,000 to 4,000 international units. 2,000 units is the dose for a 2-year-old child. The older you are, the more you need because your own production drops with age. Or it's a person carrying extra weight. And here's a key point. Fat tissue pulls vitamin D onto itself. The more fat tissue you have, the more vitamin D it draws away from the rest of you. So people carrying extra weight need more vitamin D, not less. And let me let you in on a small secret. Low vitamin D can actually drive weight gain. Meanwhile, keeping your levels up is one of the things that can help you lose weight. So what's an adequate dose? The standard is 10,000 international units daily. Take it in the morning because vitamin D has a mildly activating effect. Take it before bed and you may have trouble falling asleep. If you carry extra fat tissue, you can raise that dose. If you're 50 or older, you can raise it too. The next mistake, taking vitamin D in courses with breaks. Take vitamin D for as long as you plan on using your body. Making breaks is a big error. I believe you should take it year-round with only one pause at the end of summer for a month to a month and a half when you're genuinely tired of taking supplements and your body, thanks to the summer sun, is a little more topped up than usual. Here's another one, and I'd call this a tragic mistake. Believing that a vitamin D level above 30 nanograms per milliliter is fine. The normal range runs from 30 to 100 nanograms per milliliter. Your body can survive at 30, but it's a much harder, much heavier existence than living with 100 in your blood. So I tell you to aim for that upper end of normal. Once you reach a level of 100 on 10,000 international units daily, you can cut the dose in half, take 5,000 instead, and cruise along on that, holding a healthy level. Another mistake is taking vitamin D without magnesium. Of all the vitamins and all the trace minerals, vitamin D and magnesium are the two foundations. More of your body's biochemical reactions depend on these two than on anything else. If you're short on these two, the rest won't give you the effect you need. So if you want to improve your metabolism, the base you start from is vitamin D and magnesium. Without enough magnesium, vitamin D simply can't work as powerfully in your body. Magnesium is one of the elements that converts vitamin D into its active form. Take vitamin D without magnesium long enough and it can start showing its downsides. Take it for a long stretch at a good dose without magnesium and you may develop a tendency toward constipation, since you need magnesium to keep the intestine moving. Vitamin D also has an activating effect on the nervous system, so long-term use at a high dose without magnesium can bring on sleep problems. The calming, sedative effect of magnesium is exactly what balances that out. One more element you need for vitamin D to absorb and work right is vitamin K2. Its job is to steer calcium into your bones and teeth and keep it out of your arteries so you don't end up with calcium building up in your blood vessels. And the reach of vitamin D goes far beyond bone. It acts on your muscles and drives their growth. In plain terms, vitamin D is an anabolic. It speeds recovery of muscle tissue after hard effort. It also shapes your mood. People low on vitamin D develop depression and low mood far more often, along with sleep problems. And vitamin D improves how the whole nervous system runs. Low vitamin D is also one of the biggest drivers of a sluggish thyroid, the gland in your neck that sets your metabolic pace. When vitamin D is low, metabolism suffers, and the thyroid tries to compensate. It starts running at high revs, cysts and nodes can form, and over time its function drops. Raise your vitamin D and you improve thyroid function. There's a myth I need to clear up, that taking a lot of vitamin D gives you kidney stones. The truth is the opposite. Kidney stones are a sign of vitamin D deficiency. Here's how. When vitamin D is low, your body absorbs calcium from food poorly. Blood calcium drops. Your regulatory centers sense the shortage, and since you need calcium for good nerve conduction and strong muscle contraction, the body has to push calcium back up. The parathyroid glands switch on and start breaking down bone, and calcium pours out of your bones into your blood. That's the situation where stones start forming in the kidneys. Keep your vitamin D adequate, take it with magnesium, and that's one of the best ways to prevent kidney stones. Vitamin D is also enormously important for a healthy pregnancy. The pregnancy goes smoother, the birth is easier, and the baby develops better when the mother has enough vitamin D before conception, through pregnancy, and during breastfeeding. And vitamin D is the single most important element directing your immune system. Without it, your immune system can't run properly. This became painfully clear during COVID. The statistics showed that people with adequate vitamin D levels didn't suffer the severe, fatal cases. Before I give you the exact regimen, I want to ask you something, and there's a real medical reason behind it. Your body's own production of vitamin D drops with age, and after 50, the deficiency signs and the fracture risk climb sharply, which is why the right dose is different at 20 than at 60. So tell me, how old are you? Drop it in the comments. It genuinely helps me see which risk group most of you are in, so I can aim future videos where you actually are. Here's the ideal regimen. Start from the newborn period through the first year, a preventive dose of 1,000 international units. You give it to an infant so the body forms correctly. Bones, muscles, internal organs, all built right, on the condition that this vitamin is there. The body is under construction, and during construction, you need good cement to bind the bricks of the building. Enough vitamin D, enough cement. Not enough, and the cement runs thin and the building comes out shaky and weak. As the child grows, you can raise the dose gradually, guided by their symptoms and by the advice of the pediatrician or osteopath following your child. For adults, 10,000 international units taken regularly in the morning, bringing your blood level up to 100 nanograms per milliliter. Then halve the dose and continue. Always pair vitamin D with magnesium at 300 to 400 milligrams daily, taken in the second half of the day, and with vitamin K at 100 micrograms. Do it this way and you'll get the best effects from vitamin D with no side effects. So here's what to do after this video. Get your vitamin D level tested. Choose an oil-based form, not a tablet. Take 10,000 international units in the morning, pair it with magnesium and vitamin K2, and aim for that upper end of normal 100 nanograms per milliliter, not the bare minimum of 30. Keep taking it year-round. And if your bile flow is sluggish, fix that first with bitters so the vitamin actually absorbs. Do these things and you'll feel the difference. Your doctor won't bring this up. There's no money in a healthy patient. I'm telling you anyway because that's what this channel is for. Subscribe, leave a like, and help Dr. Waterling reach 300,000 subscribers. Take your vitamin D the right way and get well.